The restaurant smelled like rosemary and slow-cooked lamb, my mother's favorite. The kind of place where the napkins were linen and the wine list had its own menu. I hadn't planned on coming tonight. But when the family text thread, yes, the same one that still labeled me, Ava, the dramatic one, pinged about Dad's birthday dinner, I showed up anyway. Maybe curiosity. Maybe closure. The moment I walked in, my brother Mason looked up from his seat at the long mahogany table, his smirk already waiting. He tapped his fork against his glass, leaned back, and said, "Leave. Tables for family only." Then he nodded toward a fold-out chair propped near the trash bins at the back wall. Everyone chuckled softly. The kind of polite laughter that hides cruelty beneath manners. I smiled, small, practiced, calm. The kind of smile you learn after years of pretending you don't care. My nails, painted a soft taupe, rested on the leather strap of my purse. My blouse was cream silk, smooth under my fingertips. I could feel the faint tremor in my chest, that familiar echo of the past. I hadn't seen Mason in 3 years. He looked older. I looked stronger. My phone buzzed just then, a message that made my breath catch. The timing was poetic, almost cinematic. The past had finally come knocking, and I was ready to answer. I was 19 the first time Mason told me I didn't belong at the table. It was Thanksgiving, and Mom had set out her best china. The turkey gleamed, the cranberry sauce looked like jewels, and I was halfway through explaining my art scholarship when Mason interrupted with that same smirk. "Art? That's not a real career, Ava. You'll end up broke, probably painting portraits of people who actually work for a living." The table laughed. Dad didn't look up from carving the turkey. Mom poured more wine. No one defended me. I remember gripping my fork so tight my knuckles went white. The lump in my throat burned, but I forced a smile anyway. "At least I'll love what I do," I whispered. That night, after everyone left, I stood in the kitchen washing dishes with my grandmother, Eloise. She'd been quiet all evening, but when she saw my trembling hands, she dried the plate in my grip and said, "Sweetheart, they can keep their table. One day, you'll build your own." She slipped a small silver bracelet from her wrist into my palm. A single charm, a tiny key, hung from it. "This opens doors they'll never understand." It was the last gift she ever gave me. She passed away 2 months later. When I told my parents I wanted to move to New York to pursue art and design, Dad said I was being reckless. Mason laughed again, offering to save me a spot at the family table when I came crawling back. So I packed 2 suitcases, the silver bracelet, and a sketchbook full of dreams. The night I left, rain streaked down my car window like tears I refused to shed. I glanced at the house one last time, the warm glow inside, the faint sound of laughter, and whispered, "Keep your table." The city was waiting, and so was the woman I was about to become. New York didn't welcome me with open arms. It greeted me with rain-soaked sneakers, a flickering hallway light, and a roommate who forgot to mention she had a boyfriend staying over most nights. My first apartment was so small I could touch the sink and stove at the same time. The radiator hissed like it disapproved of my dreams. Still, I'd sit by the window every night, sketching designs on the back of old flyers, whispering to myself, "Keep going, Ava. Just keep going." By day, I worked in a cramped coffee shop, burn espresso, customers snapping fingers, and a manager who thought smiling more was part of the uniform. By night, I'd take online courses in digital design and marketing. Sleep was optional. Failure wasn't. It was during one of those midnight design forums that I met Lena Hartman, a sharp, graceful woman in her 40s who ran a boutique branding agency. She saw one of my rough sketches and messaged me. "You've got an eye, kid. Come and turn for me. No pay. Just experience." Those 3 words, just experience, became my currency. I poured myself into every project Lena gave me, learning not just art but business, negotiation, and the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need applause. Months turned into years. I freelanced for startups, designed logos for influencers, helped small brands grow. Each win was small, invisible to the world, but it mattered to me. Sometimes I'd scroll through social media, See Mason's posts from family dinners, his new car, his promotion, his perfect smiles, and my chest would tighten. But I never commented, never liked, never reached out. They didn't need to know. Then came the moment that changed everything. A lifestyle company in Manhattan used one of my designs without permission. I could have backed down. Instead, I showed up at their office, portfolio in hand, and pitched myself as their creative director. And somehow they said yes. At 27, I opened my own studio, Monroe and Company, tucked inside a glass building that overlooked the same city that once ignored me. Clients came faster than I could handle, beauty brands, magazines, even a film company. But online, I stayed quiet. My personal posts were simple: coffee cups, sunsets, vague captions like "grateful for growth." No one, not even my parents, knew what I'd built. I wasn't hiding out of fear. I was protecting peace. Still, sometimes late at night, I'd look at that silver bracelet, its tiny key glinting in the lamplight, and whisper to my reflection, "One day they'll see." The message that buzzed on my phone that night at the restaurant wasn't random. It was from Lena. "Congratulations, Ava. The press release is out. You're officially Forbes' top 30 under 30 design innovators. Proud of you, kid." I read the message twice, my heart thudding so loud it almost drowned out Mason's voice as he asked Mom to pass the wine. I slipped my phone back into my purse and smiled. Timing, I thought. Grandma would have loved this. When the waiter approached, he leaned slightly toward me. "Ms. Monroe, your private room is ready upstairs whenever you'd like." The table went silent. Mom frowned, confused. "Private room?" I turned, meeting the waiter's gaze. "Thank you. I'll head up in a minute." Mason chuckled. "You booked a table here? You know this place costs more than your rent, right?" I tilted my head. "Actually, Mason, this place is my rent." He laughed, but the sound faltered when the restaurant manager stepped forward, an older gentleman with silver hair and kind eyes. "Ms. Monroe," he greeted warmly. "It's an honor having you here tonight. The staff prepared your usual setup." The air shifted. Mom's hand froze midair, gripping her napkin. Dad's knife clattered against his plate. Mason blinked. "Wait, Ms. Monroe?" I rose from my seat, smoothing my silk blouse. "Yes. As in Monroe and Company. Creative agency. We acquired this restaurant's branding and marketing rights last year." The silence that followed was deliciously long. Even the clinking dishes from other tables seemed to pause. Mom looked pale. You own part of this?" I smiled gently. "More than part." Then I gestured toward the waiter. "Would you mind showing them the redesign wall?" He nodded and guided them toward the entryway where the restaurant's new logo gleamed. My logo, my signature curve etched in gold. Underneath, small black lettering read, "Concept and Design. Ava Monroe, Monroe and Company." Mason's mouth opened, but no words came. "It's funny," I said quietly. "All those years you said art wasn't a real career. Turns out it paid for everything you see here." Mom whispered, "We didn't know." "I know," I replied softly. "That's why I didn't tell you." Dad cleared his throat. "Why didn't you? Why keep it a secret?" I met his eyes, calm. "Because I needed to build something that was mine before anyone tried to tell me I didn't deserve it." For a moment, no one spoke. Just the low hum of jazz and the faint sparkle of the chandelier above us. Then Mason, still standing beside the golden logo, gave a half laugh, bitter and small. "Guess you finally got your table, huh?" I picked up my wine glass, holding it just high enough for the light to catch. "No, Mason. I built my own." The words hung in the air like smoke, soft and final. The manager returned, bowing slightly. "Your guests for the upstairs room have arrived, Ms. Monroe." I turned to my family, still frozen between pride and shame. "You're welcome to join if you'd like," I said gently. "There's plenty of room. No fold-out chairs this time." I walked past them, heels clicking against marble, my bracelet glinting under the golden lights. And for the first time in my life, every step toward that table felt like justice. Upstairs, the private room overlooked the city skyline, gold against indigo. The kind of view I used to dream about while sketching on the floor of my tiny apartment. The manager had set out a long oak table, surrounded by high-backed velvet chairs. Real ones this time. No fold-outs. My family followed me in slowly, the silence heavy as the air before a storm. Mom sat first, her hands twisting the napkin in her lap. Dad avoided my eyes, scanning the view instead. Mason stayed standing, arms crossed, his usual confidence replaced by something quieter, something like uncertainty. "So," he said finally, "you really did all this?" I nodded. "I did." Mom's voice trembled. "Why didn't you tell us? We thought you were struggling." I admitted. But every time I tried to share something, it turned into a lecture or a joke. It was easier to work in silence. Dad exhaled heavily. "Ava, that wasn't our intention." "Maybe not," I said gently, "but impact matters more than intention. You made me feel like I didn't belong." Mason looked down at the bracelet on my wrist. "Grandma's?" "Yes," I said softly. "She told me to build my own table. Took me a while, but I did." He gave a small, rueful laugh. "Guess I owe you an apology." "You do," I said simply. "But I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here because I want things to change." Mom's eyes lifted. "Change?" "Yes. For all of us." I leaned forward slightly, my voice calm but unwavering. "Dad, stop measuring love in achievement. You don't get to decide who's worthy of pride." "Mom, stop smoothing over cruelty just to keep the peace. Silence hurts more than words." "Mason, stop hiding behind sarcasm. You're not cruel, just scared to be seen as small. But small isn't weakness, it's honesty." No one spoke. Only the faint hum of city lights filled the pause. Then I continued, softer now. "I'll help you if you want it. But I won't let you talk down to me again. I'll invite you to my world, but only if you walk through the door with respect." Mom reached for my hand, tears shimmering. "Ava, we didn't realize." "I know," I said, squeezing back gently. "But now you do." Mason sank into the chair beside me, shoulders low, voice quiet. "What do you want us to do?" "Grow," I said simply. "Start showing up for each other. Not just for holidays, not just for photo ops. Real connection, or nothing at all." Dad finally nodded, slow and heavy. "You're right." A strange calm settled in my chest. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to prove myself. I was setting the standard. The power wasn't in my success. It was in knowing I didn't need their approval anymore. Weeks passed after that dinner. No dramatic reconciliations, no instant transformations, just small, honest shifts. Mom started calling me once a week, not to ask questions, but to listen. Sometimes we talked about recipes, sometimes about the weather. Sometimes she just wanted to hear my voice. Dad surprised me one afternoon with an email, his first ever. He attached a photo of a watercolor sunset he'd tried painting. The caption read, "Figured I'd learn what art feels like." I smiled so hard I had to blink back tears. And Mason showed up at my studio one Friday, looking awkward in a too-tight suit. I quit my job," he said, scratching the back of his neck. "Didn't feel right anymore. I'm starting a nonprofit, teaching kids how to use design tools. Maybe I could learn from you." I didn't tease him, didn't gloat. I just handed him one of my sketchbooks. "Lesson 1, I said. Start with what hurts the most, and draw from there." That night, after everyone left, I stayed alone in the studio. The city outside buzzed softly, its lights flickering like distant applause. I turned the bracelet on my wrist, the tiny key warm against my skin. For the first time, I realized it had never been about unlocking doors to success. It was about unlocking myself. Grandma had always known. I walked to the window, watching the reflection of my office, the frame designs, the plants I somehow kept alive, the table in the center of the room. My table. Solid oak, smooth and wide, with space for everyone who'd learned to stay with love, not pride. I imagined her voice then, soft, familiar, proud. Told you, sweetheart. Build your own. A gentle smile found my lips. I whispered back, I did, Grandma. And it's beautiful. The next morning, a new message popped up on my phone from Mason. Family dinner? Your place this time? I texted back, sure. Bring real chairs. And as I hit send, I felt it. The quiet closure, the peace that comes when you stop chasing seats at someone else's table. Because the truth was, when my brother once smirked and said, leave. Tables for family only. He didn't realize I'd already built a table no one could take from me.